I'd say like just to sort of keep doing what you're doing. Um, remember, like obviously there would have been a reason for you to sort of start playing in the first place. Sort of keep that in mind moving forward. Um, if you take a hit here or there, don't try not to be discouraged. Try to let it sort of motivate you to sort of keep doing more and more and more. You will you might not see it at first, but things will improve. Things you will grow as a musician and stuff like that. And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing it. Keep having fun.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters Net podcast. I'm your host Brian, and joining me today, Jarred Steventon. How you doing, brother?
All right. Not so bad. Yourself? All good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. The weather's been kind of a little odd here lately. Not sure what's been going on. It's like cloudy one moment, rains briefly, and then sun comes out afterwards. Not really understanding what's going on right there. So, what part of I guess I should say, where are you from actually? Because I think you did mention you're from the UK.
The UK, yeah. So I'm from the West Midlands. I live in Wolverhampton.
Oh, do you? So I guess you're not
Yeah.
close to Ash or any of those other guys from the UK?
No, I don't think so. No, not that close.
I was say I'm slowly taking over the UK because I interviewed a good number of you blokes out of the UK already, so I'm at least pretty happy about that. So, and I think we first met. I think it was Ash's drum collaboration. I think it was Enter Sandman, I believe.
Yes, was it 17 drummers? The collab.
It was something like that. Yeah, it was. It was odd too because I kept seeing it, like switch back and forth too, thinking like, wait, how many
Yeah,
drummers?
I
did
know
they
it was definitely more than the usual 16. Like,
I would find you just like draw the line at like 16 and just like kind of leave it at that since you're able to fit four, and four. So I thought 16 is like the max limit you want to at least try to shoot for, to be honest. So, oh well. But you and Ash, you guys have done drum collaborations, right? I guess was that a Linkin Park one or did you do something else?
it was, yeah, it was Linkin Park. It was, what was the song?
I think it was Line from You or Somewhere I Belong. That's right. That's what it was.
That was the one. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
drew a blank there. Yeah, Somewhere I Belong.
I was trying to remember because I think I did see Outer Drummers who did a collaboration with Line from You, so that's why I thought of it first. So, but it was Somewhere I Belong. So, all right. So that's good to hear too. So, Jarred, welcome to my podcast right here. The way this works is you just get to know you more, both as the individual and as a drummer, from some of the questions that I sent over to you. So, I got them all up right here, ready to roll.
Yep.
All right. So, we'll start with the first one. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become a drummer?
So getting into drums, I got into drums at quite a young age. I must have been about 7, 8 years old when I first started taking interest. So we sort of came in and they bring like all these, drums, bits of percussion. I had like the bongos, congas, cowbells, all this sort of stuff, you name it. Used to bring that in. Like we used to do like sessions on that, and then I sort of really enjoyed it. Sort of really took to that sort of stuff. The rhythm based stuff, and and I suppose some of it comes from the sort of music I grew up on as well. Like growing up on like rock music and stuff, watching stuff like Kerrang, MTV, those sort of like music videos and stuff. So I guess it was like the marriage of those two things, like the percussion stuff and like, sort of seeing it on like music videos, thinking, yeah, drums, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and actually I couldn't help but notice like I I guess you got two pictures right there, and I guess is that a signed mesh head you got back there?
Oh yeah, so I've got like bits and bobs sort of dotted around like my space here. This one here is do you know the band Royal Blood?
It sounds familiar. I'm not too sure, but I guess fill me in on it.
Yeah, they're from the UK as well. Like, they're pretty good. We've got that one there. You see that one? That's Mick Thompson, the guitarist from Slipknot.
Mm.
And then we've got a couple of others, like sort of further up the wall. Yeah, bits and bobs I've sort of collected over the years.
I was gonna say it kind of looks like something you put in like the Hard Rock cafes, to be honest, with like those sorts of pictures and even like signed or autographed sort of memorabilia or whatever it would be too. Because actually, I was in Italy not too long ago, and Isaac Drums, he's real big into Oasis, so I sent him a picture when I saw something that was related to Oasis too. So that's what it made me think of that, to be honest. But I assume, do you have anything that related to Oasis? Any sort of something signed or just albums?
No, not really.
That was worth a try. It was 50-50 at least, but that's pretty cool. So I guess, what sort of drum set have you been using for a good while?
So, the drum set that you see in my covers, it's a Pearl Export Series kit, and the story behind that, where it actually came from, is my next door neighbour, right, actually like used to play drums himself, like, you know, however long ago it was, and he had this kit just sort of like sitting in like his shed sort of thing, and he asked me if I wanted to have it because like I do I also teach drums now as well, so he said, look, you know, do you want an extra sort of kit to help with like your teaching and stuff like that, and so I took him up on it. Sort of tried my best to restore it, and like that's what you see in my covers. I don't know if you can see it too well, but if I it.
There we go. Sorry, the camera was being a little funky at first, but oh, it's pretty sweet. And he also got one of the Muppets too hanging on the end. I know Jar Brooks does something similar. I'm guessing that's Animal, isn't it? From the Muppet series.
It's Animal, yeah.
Typical, yeah. And you know, it seems like after that whole commercial too, we just see like banging on the drum saying like, we got an animal in the attic or something like that. That's right, it was a Geico commercial. And it seems like ever since then, it seems like now you see it everywhere. Everyone's going to now start putting them on the drum sets and everything too. So, so it's cute. I'll just say that. It's cute. So, all right. So I guess, what sort of brand was that kit? I don't know. Did you mention it?
Pearl Export Series kit.
I guess so. What's all incorporated into the drum set itself? Like outside of snare, how many toms do you have, and what's the brand or the cymbals?
So toms, I just play. I think sizes. I think it's a 13-inch high tom, 16-inch floor. They've got like Evans, you know, the skins are all Evans across the kit. In terms of cymbals, I sort of like switch them out every so often because obviously, like I say, I do like the teaching as well. That's like the kit I use for like my students to go on. So I sort of switch the cymbals out every so often. The ones I use most of the time are my crash is like I think it's a Dream like thin crash, and the ride I've got like a Zildjian ride that I use as well. Every so often you'll see I have the China. It's a Sabian China. Love the sound of that.
You're not endorsed by anybody?
No. I wish.
Eventually, we'll try to get to that point. But speaking of your drum teaching, is it mainly a career or is it mainly like a secondary job?
It's at the minute it's kind of like my side hustle. Like I'd like for it to be what I do full time, but it's just sort of building it up, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. Because you said you worked in retail for your main job.
Yeah, for my main job, yeah, yeah.
I guess how's that been? Because I guess you were just leaving work and had to jump on this call a little later. But I guess how is that job going?
It's going okay, I suppose. It gets pretty busy, particularly in the summer as well. In the heat, it's pretty brutal. But it's not so bad.
I always hear like it's the unfortunate stories too, especially if you're working with customers who tend to be rowdy or, as they say, the Karens or the Chads, which is kind of the names they kind of throw at them. So,
oh yeah, we definitely get a few of them.
oh man, I feel bad for you, mate. So sorry I have to go through that, but I mean, just comes with the territory, I guess, or
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it.
What it is.
So, but I guess so. What made you want to be a drum teacher?
I guess it was like, because obviously I've been playing drums since I was about like 9 years old. I went through school playing them. Did music at college. Then sort of left college, and I was thinking like, what's the next sort of step? And I guess it was like, how could I sort of take this further, other than like playing in bands and stuff. How else could I sort of use this? And I figured like teaching it'd be kind of like the way to go, sort of sharing what I know with others, like hoping to pass something on.
I see. I was trying to remember because I know I've always had like a couple of these interviews where they start off either like they were in a band or doing like a mandatory job. We should say that's your first and main priority job you do. Then it seemed like teaching came a little bit later when they realized they could try to make something out of it too. So yours is interesting because I was going to ask, like, did you go to music school or anything like that? And then you're actually the first one who said college, because I think everybody's always referred to it as university, which is, it's kind of the same thing in my opinion. I just think college has lesser buildings and lesser, nicer things than universities, to be honest. So I can see why, but so you came out of college and was like, let's try to weigh my options and then see where it goes. Was it that sort of thing? Or was it like when retail was doing good, did you try to see like what you could do then?
Pretty much, it was just come out of college and then see what I can make of the tutoring. See how far that I can take it.
Like I said, did you play like in any bands, whether it was like short term or any time after university?
Yeah. So God, how old would I have been? I think I would have joined my first band when I would have been like possibly 12, 13. That was just doing like sort of like you mentioned earlier about like the Oasis, right? So it was doing that sort of style, like the Britpop kind of stuff. And then after that, I'm playing in the band that I'm currently in now. I think I met the one guy when I was in like secondary school. I think I would have been in my second year at secondary school. Sort of met him there, started jamming with him, and that's been like, it's kind of come to be the band that I'm in now, but it's gone through, various sort of like line-up changes and stuff on the way.
That's kind of the unfortunate thing too, yeah. And are these like cover groups, or they all try like to do like original material?
So the one I'm in now, we do a couple of covers, but it's mainly like original material that we do.
Do you try like just playing in the pubs or anything, or have you tried to get into like those bigger venues at some point?
It's mainly been like like local sort of pubs and stuff like that, but hoping to sort of branch out into like the bigger things.
So outside of doing the drums, do you try anything else with like marketing, or I guess help with the recruiting process as well whenever you lose a band member?
So I do like obviously like with doing like the YouTube and stuff, I got into like the video editing stuff like that as well. So every so often I might do like a little promo video for like the band, stuff like that.
I guess speaking of which, when did you start your YouTube channel?
It was just on the tail end of like COVID. So when we were like starting to come out of lockdown, it was around that sort of time. So like possibly early 2021, maybe.
I see. And I guess, was there something you hoped to achieve with your YouTube channel when you started, like, posting your drum covers?
Honestly, it was like I guess it was like a way of sort of like, for me it was like a way of sort of like promoting myself, like to kind of help with like my tutoring and stuff like that. But also it was like it was something that I'd been thinking of doing for like a long time, and like with COVID and kind of being locked down, not being able to do much else, I figured why not just give it a go one day, film something and post it, and what happens.
Yeah, I admit I was kind of the same way, because normally that's how it starts off. You normally start off as like a hobby of sorts, and then once you start seeing it progress at some point, because obviously your first few subscribers are going to be either family or close friends, so they'll be your first ones, and then afterwards you got to figure out like, okay, how else do I get this algorithm to like know that, hey, I'm right here, try to come see my videos, that sort of thing too. So it's a very long uphill struggle too, but I guess, where are you currently at in terms of subscribers?
I was on like 130 something. It's kind of like going up and down a little bit currently, but it's stopped around like 130, something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a long uphill struggle, as I said, so good luck to you, mate. So,
Cheers.
but I guess, also speaking of COVID, at least, I guess, how bad did COVID impact you and your family?
Not too much. I'm kind of fortunate and unfortunate in the fact that I'm the only one from like my immediate family who actually like caught COVID and like suffered with it. It was just the whole thing of like feeling like we couldn't go anywhere and like not being able to see like, the extended family, people we don't live with as much, that sort of thing. So it was pretty tough, feeling like stuck indoors a lot of the time.
Yeah, I see. I guess, I got COVID a little bit late, because I actually went to one of our big music cities in the States, which was Nashville. And I guess, was that kind of the same way with you, or were you guys trying to get back into the swing of things when lockdown was loosening it up, and then just happened to catch it one day?
I'm trying to like, I'm not sure how, because I've actually had COVID twice, and like the first time I had it, I'm not quite sure where it came from. The second time I had it was obviously after things had like opened up and stuff like that, and I went to like, like a big music festival sort of thing. Come back home, I'm not feeling well. Did a test, and then I got COVID. So, I'm guessing it kind of came from there.
Yeah, it's one of a million people who happen to be at this so-called music festival too. So
yeah,
I mean, can't really pinpoint just one person either. So, oh well.
That's it.
Well, that's good to see you made it through too. I guess, is your neck of the woods, have they really loosened up on their restrictions, or are they leaving some in place?
Oh yeah, no, we're pretty much back to normal as far as I'm aware. Every so often, you might still see someone walking around with like a mask on or something, but in terms of like the social distancing and stuff like that, we're pretty much back to normal.
I think I noticed it more with the older folks, to be honest, especially.
Yeah,
I think
people are more vulnerable and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were more
Definitely.
susceptible. So, but I guess to each his own. So that's not to judge or anything like that. But I guess the last thing, how about did it impact you in terms of your drum teaching? Did you have to try to do like online teaching?
Yes, that was definitely a learning curve because that funnily enough, how I said like I haven't used Skype in so long. Like the last time I used Skype was, over COVID for like my teaching, and yeah, having to sort of like adjust certain things because like obviously if someone's having trouble with something, you can't just like go over to them and show them. You've kind of got like a screen separating you. So that was like, it took a bit of getting used to having like lessons sort of pre-planned so I could like email them over and stuff as well so they could add anything they had to like look at. Little things like that.
I was going to think jokingly if they wanted you to be physically there, they would have put you in the hazmat suit, to be honest, and then just have you walk over.
Yeah.
And try to correct you too. After that, you then get sprayed down and everything too. It's almost like getting sprayed in the shower, for instance. Just leave back.
Yeah.
Just get the spray with the water and everything too. So that's good to see back in full force they're made. So good luck in your teaching career too. But I guess you had to focus more. I was trying to figure your main job too, because I guess did you guys do a lot more with social distancing and then not really, you couldn't really work from home either, so I guess you had to physically be in your office throughout all of COVID.
Oh, in my main job, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was very much still the same. We sort of did what we could in terms of like the social distancing, wearing masks and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it was just like working in like a shop. So we were still doing like the same thing. It was just less customers coming through the door at one time.
More online orders, almost like a Amazon at this point. So yeah. I can see what you mean too. So all right, good to have you along here, Jarred. All right, what brand are your drumsticks actually?
In terms of the sticks, I use I've got a whole bunch of different ones. I haven't really like stuck with one brand. Ones I'm using at the minute that I like are Collision drumsticks. Some others as well. It's either Vincent or Vincent. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But they're pretty nice too. And the Zildjian Dave Grohl ones as well. They've got a nice weight to them. I tend to play a 5B stick because I think I tend to feel like the 5A are like a little bit too small. They sort of slip out my hands. And then the 2B ones just feel like baseball bats pretty much. So 5B is my go-to.
Yeah, I see. Funny enough, I actually did see a endorsement on Facebook the other day talking about Collision drumsticks, saying they were looking for endorsers. So I might have to do that, but I think I'd be betraying Vic Firth at that point because that's the sticks I've been rolling with. I guess, have you ever tried Vic Firth?
Vic Firth, yeah, I have as well, yeah. Pretty good. I actually have these ones. I don't know if you can see this. The Thomas Lang Vic Firth signatures.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy sticks though. Again, it's like kind of like playing with baseball bats, but yeah, tough sticks.
They're not going any lighter, or is that pretty much where they always set them at? At least the one with the signature on it. I imagine, obviously,
I think that may be the size of them. Yeah.
It's kind of a little strange. I have been trying to get Thomas Lang on here as well, so I'd be curious as like, do you play with, what'd you say that was, were 2B?
These ones, I'm not sure. It doesn't say the size on them. They might be close to a 2B. I'm not sure.
I'll have to ask him at some point. So 2B continued. So all right, that's pretty sweet. And I guess speaking of influences, I guess Or I guess big at Thomas Lang. I guess would you say he's a big influence on you, or do you have any other influences you helped influence your drumming style?
Um. So yeah, Thomas Lang, like, I mean, I dream of being able to play like him someday. Like he's just like next level. Um. As for like what got me into drumming, it would have been Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters, and then going on from that, you've got folks like Dave Grohl. You know, I like a lot of the like '90s sort of grunge stuff as well. So obviously drummers like Matt Cameron, he does some cool stuff. And then I think another big one is Danny Carey from Tool. Again, he's like Thomas Lang. He's like next level to me. But yeah, it's all stuff to aim for.
I was say you struck me as either a metal person or one of those guys who listen to the grunge sort of scene too. But so so you really dig like Soundgarden, Nirvana, all those guys who came out in the '90s.
Yeah, all of that sort of stuff. I dabble in like my metal and stuff a little bit as well, but it's mainly like the rock and the sort of grungy stuff I'm into.
I guess for the metal, did you try to get into some of the metal that came out of the UK?
In terms of, do you mean like Black Sabbath or like heavier than that?
Well, technically heavy. We had Napalm Death and Bolt Thrower.
Yeah, not so much. They're not so much ones I've listened to too much, but I might have to check them out.
I say I've always enjoyed Bolt Thrower's music because it always felt extremely doable, but it always gave me a nice workout too. So if you're looking for a workout, I recommend them.
I'll give them a look.
I would say Napalm Death's a little out there too, but if you're just going to goof around with it, knock yourself out because that's normally what I've been doing. So, all right. So influences. So I guess actually no, you did talk about the bands. So I guess let's talk about some of the gear you use whenever you do drum covers. I guess walk us through
it. In terms of the kit or like the cameras and stuff like that.
The cameras, microphones, and then editing software you use to put it all together.
Gotcha. Okay, so I shoot my drum covers. You'll notice in my covers I don't actually have any mics on the kit. I use the sound is captured through the camera's called a Zoom Q2N, right? And I'll kind of use that mainly for like the sound, and then I've got like a couple of GoPros that I'll use as well. Editing software. Recently, I've been using Premiere Pro. I found that's pretty easy to use, and it makes the process easier. I used to edit on my using like an app on my phone, but that was just a bit of a ball ache, to be honest.
I guess you use drumless tracks, or you just kind of use the song and you just tone it down and make sure your drums.
Yeah, I used just the song and play over top of it. Lower the volume slightly.
Yeah, I've got the same way too, even though I think Gary Heinrich, he was one of the guys who had interviewed a while back. He had told me there's a way to get it, because first off, I'm assuming you're a Windows guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So for Mac users, I pretty much roll with that. I think you can get it. It's called Moises, which does, at least, it doesn't, I shouldn't say like it removes it entirely. It maybe just tones it down to where you can barely hear it.
Yeah.
Even though it might affect the overall quality, but you then get your drumless track then too. So
I know about Moises because I actually use it for my teaching as well, because it's got the thing where you can like speed up and slow down the songs, hasn't it? Like adjust the tempo.
Well, I didn't know about that, but I know it at least gave you like the time in, for instance. So it's just like your simple 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it clicks it for you. So it does a nice little metronome for you. So that's why I would say it was like the biggest plus of it. So you may be right. I honestly don't know. I haven't really used it, but I've heard many good things about it too. So I think at some point, the problem is with Macs, it looks like it only syncs up to iTunes. So some of the music I use, it comes out of Amazon Music, for instance. I bring it all from my interface and just put it on my DAW that way. Then afterwards, I just do MIDI notes since I've always rolled with electric drum sets for a good while too. So, but I guess speaking of electric drum sets, have you ever played with one? Do you use one at all for your teaching?
Not for my teaching. I've played electric drum sets though. Going through college, I spent a good amount of time on an electric drum kit in like rehearsals and stuff like that. I've also used an electric kit for like with my band when we're like recording just like rough sort of like demos, stuff like that. Just MIDI into the computer sort of thing. I think that's a Roland kit that I've used. And that's pretty good.
Hey, I was gonna say, do you remember what brand the kits were during your school days?
They were Roland, but as for like the specific models and stuff, I couldn't tell you. Can't remember.
Fair enough though. But I guess, do you have a preference, or do you always prefer the acoustic?
I guess I prefer the acoustic just because it's what I've always known and what I've played since the start. I do think there are benefits to an electric kit though, in terms of like the practice tools you get with them. Obviously, you've got like the built-in metronome, stuff like that. You can get the ones that have kind of like the mesh heads, so they feel a little bit more like real drums as well. So I do quite enjoy electric kits as well. Playing with all the different sounds on them as well is like another fun thing to do.
I'd say the big thing is noise control, but I'm assuming you just live alone in your house, or do you live in a tight neighborhood?
So I live, at home with my folks sort of thing, but the space I'm in is like pretty soundproofed, so I don't have like any complaints really.
That's good to hear. I guess, did you remodel that room? Because actually I kind of dig the way that the checker sort of background kind of looks there. So I don't know, did you remodel it at some point, or is that kind of how it's always been?
It's always been like this. So we kind of did this whole setup like while we were like locked down in COVID as well, because my drums used to be in like the garage that's like attached to the house, but like it was always a thing of like, oh, I want a proper space to like set my drums up and stuff like that. And so we sort of did this like over that sort of lockdown period.
I was gonna say, it must have been pretty pain just trying to get it all up and running too, because I know.
Oh, definitely. But I think it's worth it now that it's all up and running.
I would say you should have probably called Mark Henderson, because I know he actually designed his own little studio too. Shout out to Mark, by the way. Drum Club, that's his YouTube name, by the way. So make sure everybody go check him out too. Shout out to Mark right there. So, and I guess, how'd you get involved with the drumming community? Was it Ash or Drumman 190 or anybody who kind of reached out to you?
Yeah, so it was first getting into the drum community. It was kind of, I'd uploaded a cover, and it was a Drumman 190 who'd actually like commented on it. I went to go visit his channel, and then he does like the drummers to check out or something like that. Like he does his little sort of shout out videos. And then it was through him that I found Ash Wells. And then from there, because obviously he does like a similar thing with like his drum radar and stuff. And then it's just going down the old YouTube rabbit hole sort of thing, and just finding anyone and everyone.
I did give a shout out too, because obviously I should have said something about your drum tuber shirt in the beginning there, but
yes,
thanks for supporting the shirt. There we go. Does Ash have that on his website? Is that where you got it from?
He does, yeah. He does sell them. This one I won from like a giveaway, because when like he first done the drum tuber community, he did like a little giveaway thing on Facebook, and I sort of won this one. So it's kind of like the first one out in the wild, I guess. But yeah, he does sell them.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Ash, for giving us the idea of the drum tuber community. I guess he had to do something because on the Facebook he does another group. It's Two Drums, which is basically with collaborations, or if you had like, say maybe a drum collab or not drum band collaboration of say like a bass guitar player or all three with a vocalist as well. That's already what he did, but I guess he realized most of us drummers are doing just standard drum covers where it's just us playing. So I think he realized he had to kind of expand that. So that's why I think he formed Drum Tuber. Kind of came to him in a dream one night, for instance, an epiphany, so to speak.
Yeah.
But have you shown up on anything else with Ash? I know he does a live stream, which is Drum Bonanza, or he does Drum Radar. Did you show up on any of his sort of episodes?
He did feature me on a Drum Radar episode. It was like he does like his live streams, and I was on like one of the live Drum Radar things that he did. So yeah.
No, we were actually going to get to it, and actually it was meant to be this month when we did the Drum Bonanza, where I finally show up on his live stream, but he keeps his busy schedule, so it's a lot for him to take in, so gotta give the guy some room to breathe at times, so oh well. But I don't know did he say he was going to do another drum collaboration at some point? I was actually thinking of a couple that we probably should do. Those big multi-drummer collaborations, I should say.
Oh, one of those big ones. I'm not too sure.
It'd be interesting, so stay tuned for that, folks. Let's see what happens. All right, so we really did breeze through the questions pretty good here. So I guess we'll jump into the fun ones right here. Then maybe we'll see where we pick up at some point. So I guess for the first one here, do you drink at all?
Yeah.
I guess what's your favorite alcoholic drink?
I like a beer. I like whiskey. I like some rum as well. So yeah.
It's really just Circle D, all the above, that sort of thing.
I enjoy. I do like a Jack Daniels and Coke. I am quite partial to one of those.
Here's the second one I actually did, Jack Daniels and Coke. I would have thought, nobody seems to give Captain any credit. I always thought Captain enhanced the flavor of a Coke drink, to be honest. That's a rum.
Oh, yeah.
So.
It's another one as well. The Captain Morgans, yeah, they're another good one.
But teachers own too. The reason I did have to ask in the beginning if you did drink, because some people I've interviewed, they probably had drank in the past, and then they gave it up to be sober for a good while. Others vary like here and there too. So, but I guess the reason why too is because some people had given up either drinking or smoking during COVID too. So that turned out to be a blessing in disguise. So I guess to kind of throw in a question that finally popped in my head, did COVID give you any sort of blessings in disguise?
It did, yeah, because it was obviously like being stuck at home. It meant that I could spend more time on my drums, and then obviously like you saw like a lot of people sort of like picking up new hobbies, things like that as well. Like that's when like I learned a little bit, because I hadn't got a clue beforehand like about like video editing and stuff like that. So that was how I was able to sort of start my YouTube, I guess.
I see, yeah. At least some of the good things came out of the dark times too. So
yeah,
you know what? They still keep talking about the whole thing with Boris Johnson and everybody else kind of partying during COVID as well, without mask and everything too. Something like, are we past this at some point? So it's almost like, what gives? That sort of thing. So I guess, do you have any opinions of British Parliament or anything like that?
I tend to stay out of it. It's a whole can of worms in it.
Good man, I would say, yeah. Stay out of politics. Too dramatic, to be honest. So, all right. So getting back to the questions. Next, you kind of deal with your drum covers in a way. So for the first one here, was there ever a song that was too tough for you to play? Did you either give up or did you come back after a while to finish?
There's definitely some. Yes. There's one that I've been working on. It's not on my channel right now, uh, but I have been working on it on and off for a while. Do you know the band Gojira?
Gojira?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw him live, believe it or not. But what song were you trying
Oh,
to practice?
yeah. There's some of their stuff that I've been looking at sort of on and off, and one day might make it onto YouTube.
Hmm.
We'll see. We'll see.
There was actually a couple things. One, actually, an old friend of mine from college. Crap, I'm gonna forget the song name at some point. But he did recommend one. I think it's Silvera. Oh, not Silvera. Not Silveria. No, that was a different one. Sorry. But it was one of the songs he kind of recommended because I asked him like, hey, do you have like a list of like drum covers you want me to just put on Facebook? And unfortunately, I never really got to a Gojira one. I actually did a Breaking Benjamin song, and that was one I posted on there.
Right.
I would like to revisit at some point, kind of do like a redo and put it on YouTube because I only put it on Facebook at the time. I did see Gojira live, and that was last year when they were with Deftones and a band called Vowels. How many times have you seen Gojira?
I haven't seen them live, but when you said Gojira and Deftones, that sounds like one hell of a show.
Actually, I did.
Yeah.
I did film a good chunk of it.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen them live.
Oh man, you're missing out on a good bit because they were the middle act because it was only three bands. It was Vowels, Gojira, and then Deftones was the headliner. So obviously, I think they always change it every now and again. I don't know what groups they're a part of now, but ironically, at the time, I would have told you Gojira did better than the headliner. But I think in hindsight, given a nice little review, I would say Deftones was up there, but Chino was more to pumping the crowd up at the wrong time per se. Because
Yeah.
so, but nonetheless, it was a killer show, and you know what? I really wish I had filmed Engine Number 9, which was their closing number for Deftones when they're reaching the end there. And but I did say I did have a good chunk of video footage, so go check out my channel to see some of the live footage. You'll realize you're missing out on a good bit.
We'll have to.
And for your terms of drum covers, I guess, is there one that's been your favorite so far, or one you got planned?
Funny you should mention, right, how you were on about Deftones. One of my favourite covers that I've done is the song Digital Bath. That's been probably one of my favourite ones, just because like the parts in terms of like drumming, the parts are like so different and so like out of the box. And I think I sort of managed to like fake my way through it and pull it off a little bit, so it turned out sounding pretty good.
I guess, do you try to play it note for note, or do you improvise in some spots?
I try to play note for note where I can, but if I'm really unable to like hear it, or like if I can't find like the sheet music for it anywhere, I do like a mix of sight reading and learning by ear. So I kind of do a bit of both here and there.
Oh, you do the sheet music too, because I always want to say it was the Ash effect, because that's the first time I've seen somebody actually using sheet music for drumming. Because for me, I've always done it with my ears too, and then try to interpret it, you know, what goes where and that sort of thing too. So
Yeah.
So, do you always kind of show it during your drum covers? Like, do you have the stand like right up next to you if it's like one of the more harder songs you play?
No, because for the most part, if I've used the sheet music, I'll try to like memorize it as well. And like I might like watch like other drummers play it, like, you know, watch other people's covers and stuff like that to sort of help me try and like remember it. But yeah, if I do have sheet music there, it might only be for like a section rather than the whole song, so to speak. And yeah, I generally like I'd try and position it a little bit off camera. So yeah.
I guess, has there been any YouTube drummers that have influenced you?
YouTube drummers, you got the big ones like Cobus, Casey Cooper.
There were actually a couple, and one I think was a Colm Downing. I think was one.
Oh yeah, yeah. He a lot of the stuff he does is like the sort of grunge stuff as well, isn't it?
Something like that. But it seems like he's been absent for a good while, so I don't know where he went. To be honest, actually, he was one of the many drummers I tried to reach out as well. So unfortunately, it's kind of just left out there, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I don't know. He's been absent for some time, and another drummer who actually really helped me out. Actually, I should say two drummers was 65 Drums and Wyatt Slav. But it seems like Wyatt's moving over to do like travel vlogs now. So I don't know if he's gonna stick doing drums. So I would like to interview him and then try to see like, hey, are you doing drums every now and again, or are you just now doing more strictly travel? So I don't know. Did those drummers inspire you in any way, or no?
I've heard. I have seen a couple of Wyatt's videos, and he's really good. Like the way he makes his covers and stuff like that. Who did you say the other one was?
65 Drums. He actually told me about Superior Drummer. That's the software I got for my MIDI.
Right. The name rings a bell, but I can't think off the top of my head if I've seen like many of his videos. If not, I'll definitely have to check him out as well.
Sounds good, mate. So, and the last question: what is currently your favorite song, or a song that you've been listening to a good bit recently?
Song a lot recently is Silvera by Gojira because it's one that I do intend to cover at some point. No, yeah, I do intend to cover Silvera at some point. I did have like a little sort of preview of it on my channel, just as like a YouTube short, like sort of saying like, hey, I'm learning this song, but it's a process.
I should ask, what was the hardest thing you ever tried doing on drums? You tried doing like 1 foot blast beats or something like that, or have you ever tried to like experiment with like any other drum styles?
So like I've done a bit of like different styles here and there. One thing I could never get was like jazz. Like I've always sort of struggled with that one, and like a lot of things playing in like odd time signatures and stuff as well. Like it's always a bit of a mind bender, but yeah, it's all stuff to practice, isn't it?
Yeah, and you gotta listen to jazz a good number of times, because I know some people always said like that's probably the hardest thing too, especially when you're so used to playing fast. Because I think that's the story how Dave Lombardo from Slayer, he had transitioned out of the thrash metal scene, which was always fast paced and stuff like that, going into like sort of stuff like jazz, and like eventually getting the hang of it and even playing a show live with a jazz band. So you think like, oh my god, there's Dave Lombardo, he's playing with a jazz band, what's going on, that sort of thing. So
yeah, and then you've got like the other end of it. Have you seen is his name Grayson the Crootman?
What band is he part of?
So he's like on his like socials and stuff. He does like a lot of the like jazz sort of stuff, but he recently joined Suicidal Tendencies, so he's playing like like fast sort of punk and stuff now as well. So
I should hear. I didn't hear
it's a bit mad to see, but it's yeah, awesome.
Well, believe it or not, even Dave Lombardo was in Suicide Tendencies at some point. I think he's in Testament now, but
yeah.
So needless to say, some of these guys, they jump around a little bit and just have to see what's going on. It could also be that they're influenced in some way by the music too, and then it's like, oh my gosh, now I got to be a part of this band as well. So
definitely, like it's one of them things. Influence can come from anywhere, really, can't it?
Absolutely. So, all right. But best of luck on your YouTube journey, and do want to thank you so much for coming on. We do have one more question, but I guess before we jump into that, did you have any questions for me, or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
I guess who are your sort of influences in terms of like either like YouTube or like drumming? Like who are your like influences?
Oh, we're changing it up now. most people have always said, how'd you get into drumming too? That's always seemed to be the number one. But
Yeah.
that's a good question. The funny thing was, if we're just sticking from childhood, for instance, I would say Lars Ulrich, Alex Van Halen. Crap, who was the one? There was a British punk band named Bush, and unfortunately the name escapes me at the moment. So he was another one. And I forget who Vertical Horizon. I think they jumped around with various drummers too, but I think the one who stuck around a good bit, I think his name was Andy Toth, I think his name was. I think that was his name. I have to probably look it up, but it started with those, and then when I started branching out into later rock and alternative metal, and then just strictly more of the heavier metal sort of sounds, I'd say George Corlius, Pete Sandoval from Morbid Angel, and then I think Terrorizer now. I don't know, maybe that list can actually go long, but Dave Lombardo, Charlie Benante. I mean, I'm still influenced by Lars. I still love his style of play too, especially when I goof around on a bunch of Metallica songs. I would like to start covering some Metallica at some point. I think I'd do some reps for July, so everybody stay tuned for that. So I would list it off of there. Otherwise, we'd be here all day just trying to list everybody from every other group.
I think Lars is a good one. A lot of people do sort of like rip on him, and he's playing a little bit, but I think he is like a big part of the Metallica sound. And I think without Lars, it wouldn't really be Metallica.
No, I don't think it would either, because I always laugh when people say like, "Oh, he gets ripped on so much because he can't count," or what was that whole controversy he got roped into? Because I think it was like people were pirating music or something.
Oh, the Napster thing, yeah.
Napster thing, yeah. So I mean, I think that's where it all started, to be honest. Because then afterwards, because really I didn't really hear any other criticism outside of that, to be honest. Because if you have a drummer that's been with you for 40 plus years right now, I mean, it means you've done something right too, or you have a nice relationship with the guy. And at other times too, you don't need the drummer to be just for Mark Partnoy, for instance, or those crazy drummers who be like Neil Peart or try to imitate those guys, for instance. Even just the guy who keeps it simple is the one you want, because it helps everybody at the same time.
Definitely.
So that'd be my advice, at least. So, do you have any others, or?
No, nothing's coming to me straight away.
I would say it's probably gonna come to a later. Be like, oh shit, I forgot to ask them that question too. So
It's always the way, innit?
yeah, I know what you mean too. So all right, so for the last question right here, this is one I always like to ask because I like to get people's 2 cents on it too. And some people, it may seem a little bit easy at first, or sometimes it may require you to think through it too. But just do your best. So the last question goes like this: what sort of message of hope can you give to musicians and people out there as we try to move past COVID, considering everything that COVID has done?
I'd say like just to sort of keep doing what you're doing. Remember, like, obviously there would have been a reason for you to sort of start playing in the first place. Sort of keep that in mind moving forward. If you take a hit here or there, don't try not to be discouraged. Try to let it sort of motivate you to sort of, keep doing more and more and more. You might not see it at first, but things will improve. Things, you will grow as a musician and stuff like that. And just keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing it. Keep having fun.
Spoken like a true prodigy. All right. So
I did my best.
yeah, you and everybody else. I mean, I always like dropping the line near the end anyway. So if you stick to it around to the end of my interviews, you always see I drop that line. But I would have to say it's probably my number one favorite go-to, to be honest. So, all right. So, Jarred, we've reached the end of my podcast right here. Talked for a little under an hour, but that's fine. But do you have any final words or any shout-outs you want to give before we close?
obviously, thanks to yourself for having me on this podcast, giving me this opportunity. Thanks to everyone, really, who's like took the time to watch any of my videos, leave any comments, stuff like that. Everyone in the drum tuber community as well. Massive shout out to all of them folks. All awesome drummers, awesome people. So yeah, just thanks everyone.
I forgot to ask, were you in one of Ash's promo videos for the drum tubers? Or you just say like, "Hey, I'm Jarred Steventon, I'm a drum tuber," that sort of thing?
I was in the first one he did.
Okay, fair enough. Actually, I came up with later.
Also the first time most people would have seen me speak on camera as well, because I don't really do a lot of that.
Well, we're breaking that barrier down slowly, especially after this one, whenever it airs at some point. So,
yeah,
maybe sometime soon. So we'll see what happens. So, Jarred, thank you again so much again for coming on. Stay safe. Stay tuned, mate.
Cheers. All the best.